I can't remember what you guys call it here. I guess it's like being on the DL, but that is a thing here. It is, I can tell you right now, it is 100% a thing here. It's not a myth. Hey guys, so today I'm gonna do a Q&A. I have probably, no joke, asked you all about 30 times to leave me some questions for a Q&A, not only on YouTube, but also on Instagram, and I never do them. I don't know why it's so hard to film these videos. I feel like I just completely forget, or I'm just not in the mood, and I'm finally in the mood. If you ever want to know what I'm up to, I post on Instagram almost every single day. It's just at Law and Was, and then I also update you guys in my community tab on YouTube. So I will start with some workout related ones because I'm basically a fitness channel. So the first one is from Sharon, and they said, are you vegan or vegetarian? So I am neither. I'm mostly plant-based, but I do still eat eggs and I do eat seafood. So I don't eat dairy because I am lactose intolerant. The only time I will have dairy is if the cheese is in a food that I really, really like. Like there's this one Mexican dish, I can't remember what it's called right now. I'll throw it up on the screen. I literally got it yesterday from El Ponce. I got like fajitas and everything because Uber Eats was doing 50% off. It was amazing. Oh my god. Highly, highly recommend that dish. It's made with cojita cheese, I think it's called. That's literally like the only time you'll ever see me eating cheese because I am very lactose intolerant, and my stomach still hurts and I only ate a little bit of it. But you know I'm gonna eat more of it today and we're just gonna keep repeating the cycle until I finish the meal, but it's fine. So mostly plant-based. If I have dairy, it's either that meal or it's because it's in some sort of processed food, but I really do try to avoid it because my body cannot deal with milk and you're not supposed to have it anyways, so. Keisha asked, how long did it take before you started seeing results from lifting? So it took me about 8 months. I think I took my first like transformation pictures at the 8th month date. I think it was around 8 months. It's on my Instagram somewhere. I'll pop up a picture on the screen. It was of my booty. That was like the first thing I saw results with. Probably my butt and my arms. If you guys have never seen the before of my arms, it's a whirlwind compared to what we're working with now. So I would say 8 months. Everyone is completely different. I was doing stuff wrong for a hot minute. So if you hire a coach or you're following a program and you're doing your exercises correctly, it will definitely speed up the process. So there's really no time frame for all of my clients. We work with 6 weeks to get them some specific result that they would like. And that's why I do a lot of my programming and my challenges around the 6-week mark, because that's about the amount of time it's going to take you to form like a full habit and get really good at certain exercises. So I would say 6 weeks time, if you have your nutrition on point, you have your lifting on point, you're doing everything correctly, you're being consistent, and you're following progressive overload, that's the most important thing, you can see results in 6 weeks. But like I said, everyone is completely different and it is 100% dependent upon your effort and your consistency. So if you aren't consistent, you can't expect to have consistent results. That's what I usually tell everybody. Danaja, I think is how you pronounce your name, asked me, do you do anything for your stomach specific workouts? So when it comes to like your abdominal, abs, stomach area, that is going to mostly be dependent upon genetics. You may genetically hold more fat there like most women do, or you may just be leaner. I am so naturally lean that I just don't really have that much body fat, and most of it is held in my legs, which is where it's held in most women. So usually the legs and then the lower tummy area is where you're going to carry the most of your body fat. If you want to get rid of that, you can't spot reduce, so you just have to keep losing weight until you lose that. So in the process of losing weight, you will lose weight everywhere. So if you're like, oh, I want like a flatter stomach, but I also want a booty, just keep in mind you can't have everything. So figure out what your goals are. Having abs is not going to make you any happier of a person, I promise you. And a lot of people just can't sustain a low enough body fat percentage in order to have stuff like that showing 24/7. So just ask yourself why you want to look a certain way and if that makes sense for your genetics and your body type. I used to look up to people who are like 5 feet tall and just have more body fat. I will never fill out like that. Like my muscles will never look like that because I'm 5'10" and I don't carry that much body fat on my body. So just be realistic. And when it comes to abs, you have abs. They're just underneath the fat. If you want them to be more dominant and you want your core to be stronger, then train abs. But at the end of the day, if you're not seeing them, it's not because they're not there. You just have a layer of body fat over top of them. Shay Danae asked me, do you think I should do upper body as well to see the results I want? I'm currently going to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, focusing on legs right now. Obviously, this was before the quarantine. But yeah, you should train everything. As someone who basically just focused on lower body when I first started, it is one of the most frustrating things in my journey right now because I am completely unproportional. Like my lower body, we're killing it. We have all the gains. My upper body is struggling. So I still train lower body right now, but it's more so strength related. Whereas when it comes to my upper body, I'm so focused on building muscle and hypertrophy and doing bodybuilding stuff because it's just so lacking. So train everything. If you want to have an hourglass shape and you do not train your upper body, you will never ever have it, because the reason why an hourglass exists is because of your lats, making your waist look smaller, and then you have your lower body. So train everything. It also leads to injuries if you don't train your upper body, because your upper body is also involved in lower body exercises. And there's a lot of lower body exercises you will probably struggle with if you don't have a strong upper body. Like you're not gonna be able to do anything overhead that involves you doing stuff with your lower body if you can't hold something over your head. And then you also can't squat if you don't have a strong back. It's gonna be pretty painful having weight on your back. So just make sure that you are training everything equally. And then the things that you want to focus on, just make sure you're doing exercises that work for you, meaning you're doing them correctly and you feel them and it makes sense for your leverages. Emma AM asked, can you explain how you get your squat and deadlift that strong? I eat in a surplus and I train for strength. I'm not doing unnecessary exercises when I'm training to get my numbers up for a specific lift, whether it's squat, bench, or deadlift. That is the main portion of my workout, and I have maybe 1 or 2 accessory movements. So if you burn yourself out doing a bunch of curls and random stuff, you're not gonna have the energy to train your full body movement, your compound movement. So make it make sense is basically the best way to explain that. Okay, so now we have kind of some work related questions. Someone asked me, will you ever tell the story about what happened at the job when you moved here? I do want to do a story time. I wanted to let that settle first and figure out whether or not I wanted to do it, because I was just so angry, and I definitely do want to do it, but I'm in a better headspace to film that video. So if you guys want to hear about what went down, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, put a card on the screen. I think I talk about it towards the end of the video. It was like this MLL type direct selling sales job where we were selling Comcast as independent contractors in Best Buy, but it was no salary, no benefits, nothing, 60 hours a week minimum. That's not including all the other random stuff they made you do outside of work. And it was just commission. So that was a hot mess. I'll tell you right now, I made no money. So would not recommend any jobs at all, labeled as a marketing assistant, but refusing to tell you what the company is and what you're doing. It's a scam, I'll tell you right now. Maribel asked me, what are your goals, visions for 2020? This year, is this real? We started off with like the World War III thing, and then we switched back to the virus, and then what happened next? I think then we just went full-fledged into this. I don't know if we had it in between. I feel like there was something else that happened. I don't know. It's been a mess. But I just want to grow my coaching business. I want to launch my membership for workouts, nutrition, and all of that. It's going to be super cheap. I want to introduce my higher level coaching program which will be a little bit more expensive, but it'll be the type of thing where you do this for 3 months and then you never need a trainer again. So I'm super excited to do that. Continue helping my clients do some more in-person training. Right now I'm doing a lot of Skype virtual training, which is super fun. Hopefully figure out where I want to live next. I have this lease until next spring, so I have plenty of time, but I'm still trying to figure out where I want to go. I'm thinking West Side Atlanta. I live in Old Fourth right now and I really, really like it, but that price is going up. This place has been gentrified like crazy, and so it's actually very expensive to live here. Midtown is just, those prices are wild, which is why you guys saw me trying to figure out if I wanted to buy something, because it is actually cheaper than renting in Midtown. So I want to figure out if I want to be there or if I want to be in West Side. Definitely won't stay here. I love it, but it's too expensive and it's very touristy because of Pont City Market and stuff like that. So I wouldn't stay here. Downtown doesn't exist in my head. That is just like, that place is not a thing. So probably West Side. It's super cheap over by Howell Mill Road. Funny story, I looked at apartments over there and I just did not understand the vibe, and now I'm like, I get it. But it was, I don't know, I think when I came here and I was looking at stuff, I just didn't quite understand. And I had so many people like, there's so much stuff over there and I just didn't know where to look. Like when you come and visit a city looking for apartments in a city like Atlanta where everything is neighborhoods, it just is so confusing. So I'll probably do like a whole video talking about Atlanta, but that's a main thing that I am going to be trying to figure out. Kind of put that on pause right now because you're not really supposed to be leaving the house, but they are slowly opening more and more stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how this all goes. Rachel asked me, how did you get started with online personal training? So I started I like created the business last March. I took on a couple people from March to June as like a trial run, trying to figure out how I wanted things to work. That was the smartest thing I think I've ever done. And I was still being paid pretty well. And then some of them transferred over, some of them just buy guides from me all the time. So I'm so glad that I'm still able to help. And then I took a break over the summer. I was a train wreck and I was also looking for apartments here. So I pulled it together at some point. And then I still had my clients that I had from earlier that year. I had a couple more that I took on, but it wasn't anything crazy. So then about 2 weeks after I moved here, which was around the time that I stopped working at that job, I switched to Nordstrom, and I still had some clients, but I wasn't really taking on any more until December. So I got a bunch of clients in January, and so now I have like basically a full roster, and this is full time. So I just decided I wanted to do this full time, so I put all of my effort into it, and it definitely paid off. I always like to have like a blanket of security in terms of jobs and money, and I found that although it was helping me make more money, I make more money now just doing this than when I was doing a whole bunch of stuff at once. So just putting your energy into one thing, which makes sense, that's really how I grew it. Okay, so now we'll talk about Atlanta stuff. So someone asked me, how do you manage to meet new people in a new city/state? So you guys know I just got jobs. That's basically how I've met everyone. And then Instagram, I know not everyone uses Instagram like I use Instagram, but I have half of my friend group on the internet, so it's not weird for me to make connections with people online and then meet them in person. So some of my subscribers, I'm friends with you. I have my clients who I talk to literally all the time, who I would consider friends. Obviously, it's still like a professional relationship, but I consider my clients friends. And then I met people when I worked at Nordstrom. I'm still friends with them now. I follow them on Instagram, and yeah, so I think the easiest place to make friends would be in the workplace, but utilize social media. There's Bumble BFF. You can meet friends on there too. It's just like with that, you don't know as much as if you had like the person's Instagram profile. You can kind of watch their stories, see what they're doing on a daily basis. So you never really know, but meeting people online, meeting people at work, and then if you do some of those groups online where you do something in common, I can't remember what they're called, but it's like, oh, Meetup. I think meetup.com. They have certain things where if you have a specific hobby, things that you like, it'll just be a bunch of people in your age group doing that thing somewhere, and that's how you can meet people. And then meeting people's friends and becoming friends with their friends, I think that's one of the easiest ways to make friends, and that's how I've made like half of my friends. On a typical off day, what were your favorite things to do? I love going to the mall. I think that's one of my favorite things about Atlanta, because back in Maryland, we have like 2 malls that exist. Most of them are closed. And it's just not it. But here there's so many malls and I love all of them. I just make a day out of it. I love trying on clothes. I love window shopping. I don't even buy anything. I love going shopping. So definitely going to the mall. Are you getting a new puppy? I think you mentioned it once before. What kind? Yeah, so I did mention, I think a couple months ago I mentioned it. I do want to get a dog. My apartment is literally set up for dogs. Everybody has dogs here, but I think my apartment's too small for me to get a dog now. I could definitely get away with getting a puppy. I'm in a very walkable area. I have dog parks. I just can't get a dog that's too big because I don't want it to outgrow the space that it's in, because I feel like that's not fair. But I will be getting one. I just don't know if I'll get one while I'm in this apartment or if I would get one once I have a different place. It also depends on if I'm going to rent again or buy again, what breed I get. So it would be nice to just rescue a pit bull or a pit mix. I'm obsessed with them, but as we all know, a lot of apartment complexes do not let you have anything mixed with a pit bull. So I would just have to double check on that. But I'm not like, I don't really care about breeds that much. The only dog I would get from a breeder would be my dog, Bella, the light of my life. She's a soft-coated Wheaten Terrier. We got her from a breeder. Not a huge fan of breeders. I think you should get a rescue if you can. The problem with getting dogs from breeders is that dogs are not really supposed to be a purebred. That's why they have so many issues when you get them from a breeder. It's because it's just bred over and over and over again. I think that's my favorite dog breed. She's just so excited to just like be alive, but they're really hard to train. You can't really take her many places because she's the type of dog where she has to like greet everyone for like 20 minutes. So I don't know if I want a dog that's going to do that. If I could get her trained, him or her, I have no preference. If I could get the dog trained really, really well, I would get that breed. Overall, how are you liking Atlanta? I love it here. I'm very upset that like things are not a thing right now because it's gonna be like 80 to 85 degrees all week, and I'm so excited. I am in the process of setting up my patio right now. I'm about to do that after I film this video, so I will actually be able to go outside. I've been going on walks, exploring my area more, and yeah, Inman Park is so cute. I love Old Fourth. I somehow miss Pont City Market, which is just like a clusterfuck, to be completely honest. And yeah, I don't know, I just like most of the city, which I don't think most people like in normal cities. Like I love most of the areas above like above like the eastern part. Like if you looked at a map and it said Atlanta, not really going below there. I don't like downtown, as we know. I've gotten lost there so many times. I hate downtown, but most of the city I really like. I don't know why people live outside of the perimeter. I understand it's cheaper, but it's just like, unless you were born in Georgia, it just doesn't make sense for me for people to live outside of the perimeter, because the traffic coming into the city, it just doesn't seem worth it. Someone asked me, how hard was it to find an apartment? So I did like a whole little series on this. I think there's 2 or 3 videos of me looking for apartments. It wasn't too bad. I stayed in an Airbnb in East Point, and that was probably like one of the worst areas that I could have possibly stayed in to look for apartments, because it's just so far away from everything. but it was super cheap and it was totally fine. But it wasn't too bad. I think the weirdest thing that I found was things were going so fast and I had no idea that would be happening, because Baltimore, I'm sorry, but just no one wants to live there. So they're like, yeah, we have units upon units. When do you want to move in? So it reminded me of how hard it is to find like a place in Washington, D.C. to stay in. It's just like completely impossible. So every single time I went to a place, when I looked at the page like 2 days ago before I left, back in Maryland, they had tons of units available, and then I come and they're like, oh no, they're all gone. So things were just going like so fast. And I was looking in August, so people were looking to move now, and I was looking for a lease for October. So not a lot of them were even rolling stuff out like that yet. So it was hard in that sense, but there is an abundance of apartment complexes. Like, they are everywhere. So if you want to live in the city, there's complexes. If you want to live outside of the city, there's complexes. If you want to live outside the perimeter, there's literally like townhouses, everything. So you will not have a problem finding a place to stay. It's just really going to depend upon your budget. So I pay, with all of my fees and stuff, $1,300 to live here. So cheap. Most of the apartments start at like $1,400. Midtown starts at about $1,700. Buckhead is a little bit cheaper than Midtown. I would never live in Buckhead though. It's just not, I just feel like cold when I'm there. Like, it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel like a homey place. It just feels like you go in, you go shopping, you eat a nice meal because they have some of the best restaurants over there, and then you go home. So just like figuring out your vibe and where you want to be. You'll figure it out pretty quickly when you go like neighborhood to neighborhood, because I feel like everything is like a polar opposite. Someone asked me, do you like Atlanta enough to stay there, or would you move somewhere else? I love it here. I love it more than I thought I would, and I think it's interesting because when I thought of places I wanted to live, Georgia never popped into my mind, and it's because outside of Atlanta and like a little bit outside of the perimeter, there's nothing going on in Georgia. I'm sorry if I'm offending some people who live in the middle of nowhere, but this is not the place to be. All the black people live in Atlanta for a reason. That's all I'm gonna say. So I really like it here. It is very, very affordable. I know the cost of living feels very low for me because I came from a place where the cost of living is extremely high. Like the Maryland, DC area, give me a break. I don't understand. So being down here, I am honestly balling out. I'm not on a Georgia salary. You know, I set up however much money I want to make based on what I'm charging people. So I'm not like, oh, I'm not making as much, like the minimum wage is too low. I don't go off of that. So it doesn't really affect me in that way. So I really am like balling out down here, and I am genuinely enjoying myself. So the only other place I would ever live would be Texas, and that's because it's even cheaper. Like, it's crazy the homes people have, and I feel like I might want to get a house at some point, and I don't know if I would want to get a house. Okay, first of all, I would not get a house in Atlanta. I would not buy a house in Atlanta. Yeah, maybe I would rent, but it doesn't make sense to buy a home in Atlanta. It's just not a thing. It just doesn't make sense. So I would be outside of the perimeter, and at that point, it's like, if I'm done with the city life, maybe I just want to move somewhere else. So I really do like Austin and Dallas. So if I lived anywhere else, it would probably be one of those two places. I've never been to Houston. It seems pretty chill, but I don't know if that's quite my vibe. I don't know if there's enough stuff that I would enjoy doing there. Somebody asked me, do you have pollen allergies? Yes, I am dying. It's not a good time. The pollen is so high. It's really bad. I should probably just get some medicine, but I'm like one of those people where I'm like, it's fine, I'm fine. I don't need any medicine. Like, I can handle it. I can't handle it. My nose is stuffy right now and I'm sitting inside. Someone said, how did you meet someone so quickly? Okay, so if you guys follow me on Instagram, then you've probably seen little snippets of my life. But when I first moved here, as we all know, unless you're new here, then you have no idea. We had Tony. And I met him within 4 days of being here. I have no issues meeting men. It's just they literally won't leave me alone. That's not even in like a, like, oh, they literally won't leave me alone. No, it's just, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm a very hard to approach type of gal, but I don't think I am because people are always trying to talk to me. So I met him pretty quickly. He was nice. We all know how that ended. That was a train wreck. But literally in between meeting him and me going back to Baltimore in December, I met someone else. And so I've been talking to that person since then. So I just met people back to back. I don't know. People say that dating is really hard here. I have had absolutely no issues. I don't know if that's just a me thing, if I got lucky. I don't know. But, I mean, Tony was a good dude. I just didn't want to date him. I don't know. I understand where people are coming from, though, because I have met a lot of men being in Atlanta, and I did come across a man who was clearly, I don't know if he was just bisexual or if he was gay. I don't quite understand that thing. I can't remember what you guys call it here. I guess it's like being on the DL, but that is a thing here. It is, I can tell you right now, it is 100% a thing here. It's not a myth. When people were telling me that, I was like, oh, relax, guys. I highly doubt that. No, it's a thing. So I came across a fellow who was put in that category, and it's just so interesting because I don't quite understand it. I'm like, there's literally nothing wrong with being gay. I don't know. I've also met many married men who have tried talking to me, so that's just another thing that I find confusing. So maybe loyalty, maybe like the scale of loyalty is just like super low here. I have no idea, but every guy that I've talked to has told me that dating isn't necessarily hard because there's more women than men. It's hard because no one's looking for a relationship. People are just like looking for hookups or to have a good time or, you know, just live in the moment, whatever people want to call it. And so like the commitment level is just so much lower, and I don't know why that is, but I definitely think that is a thing. I think I just got lucky and I found people who have been here long enough to be sick of that, and they meet someone who is not into that stuff anymore. I did all of that up in Baltimore, so I don't do that anymore. So I think I just got lucky. But if you live here, or you live in Georgia, whatever, you've been to Atlanta, let me know your thoughts on the dating scene here, because I haven't had any problems, but it sounds like I'm the outlier. So that's gonna be it for this Q&A. It was probably really long because I've had to stop and start my camera multiple times, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got to just sit and listen to me talk. One of the most like frequent comments that I get is people really like listening to me talk, and I have YouTubers who I could literally just listen to talk about anything forever. So I completely get that. So I hope this satisfied you. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in the comments. I apologize for my absence. It's been a weird time, but I'm doing fine. Mentally, I'm in a great place. I'm very happy. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys in my next video. I love you. Bye.